So year 10 students, you might actually be a bit conflicted right now and not know what to do. So whether you should maybe take the summer off or you should start revising early and get a bit of a head start. Now here's my best advice and what I would recommend for you to do. And what I would say is to incorporate both of them. Get your rest, but also start the bit of revision, right? So right now you're either in your summer holidays, you're 6 weeks off, or you've just started and you don't know whether to rest after this long year that you've had, right? Of basically starting the GCSE content, or whether you should start covering it before you go into year 11, right? Whether you should start doing a bit of work a bit early. Now again, the best advice is to do both. Now how does this work? Like surely it should be one or the other, right? But what we're gonna do in this summer is we're gonna build good habits, right? And it's the habits that a high achiever in year 11 by that point would have. So what we're saying is here, right? We're just gonna focus this summer on building the habits that it takes. So what I want you to do right now, right? I want you to get a notebook out, get a pen and paper, or on your notes app, right? I actually want you to do this right now. Don't just listen to me say this. I want you to do this. So go on your notes app, right? I want you to write is the grade you're working at right now and next to it. So what grade you're working at right now might be, you know, your predicted grade, or, you know, maybe like your end of year target grade, or whatever you got on your mocks, right? And right next to that, I want you to write the grade that you want to get, so your desired grade. So on one side, the grade that you're currently working at, and here, the grade that you want to get. And underneath that, right, I want you to write down, well, what's stopping you, right? What's the biggest problem that's stopping you from getting there? So that might be a couple of things, but before we go into those things, right, what they could be, like, think, like, it's going to be different for everybody, this, right? Some people might just want to get a grade 4 or grade 5 and get that pass. Others might want to, like, they might be starting off in a grade 4 and want to get to a grade 6 or a grade 7. Others might want that grade 9. But what I want you to do is write down the grade you're at now again and where you want to get to. And then underneath, what's stopping you, right? And those sort of things will vary for everyone too. Maybe you've just not got a good teacher, right, who can't explain concepts to you in a way that you understand. Maybe it's that you understand the content, but you struggle to remember it. Like you can't recall information like a few weeks after covering it, right? You sort of forget things easily. Or maybe you just can't revise, right? You can't sort of habit for yourself. You can't sort like a routine that works for you, right? But here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to identify that problem, right, that's stopping us from getting from a grade 4 to a grade 7. So identify what the biggest problem is. And this summer, we're going to focus on tackling that problem, right? So what would it take to fix that? And we're going to slowly build those habits before we get into year 11. So by the time we're there, it makes everything much easier. So in terms of the revision that you should be doing and the work that you actually should be doing this summer, well, first thing is, how much should you actually be revising? Now, my advice would just be, don't do too much, right? So what that might look like is you might be doing 30 minutes a day and that's it, right? Just 30 minutes. And that might not sound like enough, but again, we're going to slowly build these habits up, right? And we're going to slowly increase the time you spend revising. But still, 30 minutes is enough to start off with, right? And what I want you to do is, before you start revising, just tell yourself, like in your brain, just kind of convince yourself, right, that you're only revising for 5 minutes. That's it, or 2 minutes. So what that does is it kind of tells your brain that, okay, but I'm going to sit down and do it. And once you sit down, right, a lot of people procrastinate because they think that they've got this long 30 minutes or hour session ahead of them, right? But if you tell your brain and convince yourself that it's only 2 minutes that you're working for, once you sit down and you know, because 2 minutes is nothing, right? Once you sit down to actually do it, you'll get in that flow and you'll get in that sort of rhythm and that flow state, right? Where you can then, you know, hammer out the 30 minutes a lot easier than before when you were thinking about it. So that's what we're going to do. And then during that 30 minutes, right, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on actually effectively revising. So what that means is, right, so what is effective revision? So doing like 2 hours a day of effective revision is much more than doing 6 hours of non-effective revision. So what makes the difference, right? 2 hours versus 6 hours. Well, how can 2 hours be better? So the reason why 2 hours of revision can actually be better than 6 hours is because during those 2 hours, we can spend that full time doing things that actually work. So we're not going to write notes. We're not going to sit there and do what everyone else does. So writing notes, reading up notes from like a CGP textbook or something like that, or highlighting things or whatever, right? We're not going to do the most common things. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to keep it very basic and just use flashcards. So a very basic flashcard where you might have a question on one side and the answer on the back. And we're going to test yourself as much as possible in that time. So for your first 30-minute session, again, we're starting off with just a 30-minute revision session. You're going to test yourself in a flashcard and do that for a full topic. And once you finish all the flashcards for that topic, meaning once you get to a point where you can't get the questions wrong again, right? You just keep getting them right and right and right. So you're not going to do it until you get a question right. You're going to do it until you can't get them wrong anymore, where it's impossible for you to get them wrong. That's the amount where you need to keep drilling yourself on the same content again and again. So the flashcards that you're making, what you're going to do is you're going to base them off the specification. What that means is, whether you're doing AQA or Edexcel exams, these examples, what they basically do is they've got a specification. If you don't know what that is, you've probably heard the word before, right? You might have heard your teacher saying it in school or whatever, but a specification is basically a long list of everything that these guys could possibly ask you about in an exam. So it's everything they could ask you. So if you cover every single point in your flashcards and you do that one topic at a time, you'll be set. You'll know every bit of content that they could possibly ask you about. So that's what you're going to learn from, right? And then you're going to test yourself on it using flashcards. So remember, in my last video, we talked about active recall, right? Which means basically testing yourself, right? It's the best way to revise. It's the best way for your brain to actually form stronger connections between things. And in the long term, you'll be able to recall everything. So by the time your exams come in year 11, you've started early, and you've started early to form those connections strong. So by the time like 8-9 months from now, when you have your exams, you're in a much better position than anyone else. So the idea is we're going to spend 30 minutes a day just on flashcards, just to start off with, right? Now again, the important thing about this is the consistency behind it. We're going to start off with 30 minutes consistently and slowly work our way up. Yeah, that's true as well. But the idea is we don't want to just do long marathons every single day, 6-hour sessions or 4 or 5-hour sessions, and do something unrealistic that you're going to truly like burn out from. We don't want to burn you out here, right? We want to just build those good habits. Like I said before, we focus on building habits. And then after that, really, again, it's just getting 1% better every day, just staying consistent. That's the main thing, right? So after that, we're doing 30 minutes a day. And once you finish the full topic, what we're going to start doing is exam style questions on that topic. So not full past papers, no, not yet. We're going to do exam questions on that topic that you've just tested yourself with flashcards, and any mistakes that you're making with those questions, right? Because obviously you're going to do the questions, but you're not just going to sit around after. You're going to actually mark them using the mark schemes, right? So, and you can find loads of questions per topic online, right? Or even through the link in my bio, to be fair. But you can find those questions anywhere, and just do as many as you can. And all the questions that you're getting wrong, convert them into a flashcard. Now this works especially for science and those kind of like content-based subjects more, where there's a lot of things that you actually need to know. But that's the kind of approach that you're going to have. So all we're going to focus on is flashcards and then exam style questions after it. And again, this 30 minutes that you're dedicating, and slowly we'll work our way up to 45 minutes, then an hour, and then maybe an hour and 10, and slowly work our way up until we're doing 2 hours a day. Now, you could spend your rest of your day, remember this is only 2 hours every single day, right? Find time to make it work, right? No matter how busy you are. So, and even on days where you fully can't do it, right? You want to take a day off, just find 10-15 minutes just to kind of go through your flashcards, and that's it, right? So this is going to depend, the work that you're doing within the half an hour session is going to depend on the subject that you're covering too. So if it's English language that you're trying to revise, you might spend like 30 minutes trying to question 5, the 40 mark creative writing question where you're writing a story or whatever. You might spend an hour doing that and then getting ChatGPT to mark it or something like that. Or if you're doing maths, you might spend an hour doing the past paper and marking it and identifying the areas of the questions that you keep getting wrong. And then the next day, the day after, right, your next revision session, you can start doing questions on the topics or on the same style of questions as the one you got wrong in the past paper the day before. And you could do the same thing with science, like doing past papers and all the mistakes that you're making, all the topics that you're getting wrong. Go back over your flashcards for that topic and then try that question again and try more similar ones, more similar exam style questions. Now, that's the thing. That's what I'd recommend to do with this summer, right? And how to use that summer properly. Especially if you're like a high achiever or you've got high grades that you want to get to. Keep moving the camera, don't mind that. These are just like these unscripted videos I kind of make where I come out and just give you advice, right, on what you can do for your GCSEs. So I don't script these, I just literally pull the camera out and just start talking, just start yapping really, right? But that's the key, right? Just staying consistent and doing things that actually work. And if you've not revised in a long time, or even if you've never done it before, like ever, you've never revised properly, this is the time now, this summer, where you can start getting used to revising and just start doing a little bit at a time. And that's it. Because by the time you're in year 11, you don't want it to be the case of like, it's your first time ever revising and it's hard to get into that habit, right? You'd rather go through that phase where you're struggling and you can't be bothered revising, like you can't be asked and you're sat there and you're just kind of like, oh shit, I can't, I don't want to do this, and you're kind of like dragging your heels along with it, right? You'd rather get through that phase, that kind of like just pushing yourself phase this summer, right? And again, it doesn't have to be like 2 hours every single day. You can take a day off here and there, but that's it. Another thing that you could do is you could find a mentor. You could find someone like a tutor or something like that, right? To kind of like, teach you content that you might not have covered yet. Or again, if you got that same problem, and again, you could use YouTube videos and that sort of thing. But again, if you want to make it as personalized as it can be, again, you could find a tutor. You can even ask for my help, right? Like with me, if you feel value from my videos, I can literally like teach you all the content. If you feel like your teachers aren't doing a good enough job and there's some things that you need teaching again and they might not cover it in over like a couple of months, right? They might not go back over that thing ever again even. If you feel like there's some gaps that obviously like when you're in class, you don't want to ask for help sometimes. I get it, right? But if you feel like your teacher's just no good either and you want things explaining to you, I would even get a tutor and they could set you homework tasks and things like that, right? Or even to the link in my bio, there's literally free, no catch. There's a free group in my bio where you could watch like recorded lessons of like going through certain topics and that sort of thing, or even live lessons that people are paid for, right? You can get that completely for free, and like question banks for every single topic, and even flashcards. You can get pre-made flashcards on an app, right? So you don't have to sit there and making them. You can go straight into the like process of testing yourself. You can get that all through the link in my bio. School group. All you have to do is join that community, join that group, and just do the work that's on there. Do the flashcards, do the questions, and that could be your revision, right? So you don't even have to think about it. It's all kind of laid out for you. And I can help you with that too, to be fair. If you want like a personalized plan, if you want me to kind of, because we said at the start, you're going to have an idea of the grades you're working at now and the grades that you want to get to, right? So if you want a plan to kind of get you from where you are now and the grades you want to get to, again, just either DM me on Instagram, that'll be my bio too, and ask for the help that you need, right? Tell me what grades you're working at, where you want to get to, and if you want a personalized plan, obviously, or just through the link in my bio. Again, I'm quite active in that group, so if you were to ask for help in the community, either I'd help you or like another student could even help you. But yeah, finding a tutor could, even if it's not me, finding a tutor could be a very powerful thing to do, to kind of like go back over content, get it taught to you again, and then afterwards, because it's still going to be fresh in your mind after you've been taught, then you can kind of incorporate these other things where you're doing like the flashcards and the exam style questions and all that sort of thing. But yeah, just to kind of summarize what I've said here, this summer is about building habits, right? So, and again, just getting used to the consistency of revising. So build a habit of just being consistent, doing like an hour every single day or 30 minutes every single day, and slowly working your way up and getting used to doing the things that actually matter, the things that actually work. Because you don't want to get into year 11, right? And you're drowning in content, you're already learning new things, and you don't want to be at that point where you're like, oh, should I revise this way or should I revise that way? Obviously, there is a bit of trial and error where you're going to figure out what works and what doesn't work for you. So you dedicate this summer to that point, right? So you're not stressing in year 11 to make it as easy as possible, as easy as it can be. Yeah, just use active recall, which my last video kind of talks about. And yeah, just use flashcards. Anki can help you do that. The app Anki, again, the flashcards are all in my bio, to the link in my bio. So get those flashcards, just test yourself 30 minutes every single day. And another thing I should add about those flashcards, why Anki is such a good thing, is that it was popularized by medical students, right? So med students, again, they want to be doctors. They have a lot of content that they actually need to know. There's a lot of things they actually need to memorize, a lot more than a GCSE student does, for example. So if they can do it for their content, you could do it for yours a lot better than they do it, essentially. So yeah, another thing is it tracks your weak areas for you. So you don't have to manually, like this is all laid out for you. You don't have to even think. You could just be a retard and just do the work and you'll be fine, right? Like you could just do the work, right? That we're telling you to do, that's out there, right? And you don't have to guess about your revision. Just do the things that work, right? Just do the flashcards, and again, it'll track your weak areas for you. It'll space out your revision for you so you can store it in your long-term memory better. Like this app will do it all for you. And then once you've done the flashcard, once you've completed a whole deck, for example, then use exam style questions. And once you've done that, add any mistakes to the flashcards from before, right? And that's the best thing. Just stay consistent and do these things. And if you want my help, again, the link is in my bio.